Hey, welcome to the stream here on Saturday. Listen, if you're catching the stream and you've missed it, it's okay. You can always check it out anytime. We leave it up. But I want to start with some extremes, and I talked about in the title. This could be one for the books, and let me show you what I mean. These are consecutive days with maximum temperatures equal to or below 32 degrees. This is for Kennedy. Okay, look at this. Going back, the number one is 16 days. That goes back to 1961. You had a couple other days here, 14, 12, 11. And listen, you're going back to the 50s, 70s. You had a couple here in 04 and 05. Right now in New York, and by the way, I think this is true for many other reporting areas without digging into the data. Look at this. Since the 24th, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I think we're going to knock another one out today, 8. And several more days ahead where we're going to be below freezing. So when I say it could be one for the books, we could be challenging some records with when it comes to consecutive days of cold. My gracious. Look at this setup. Huge ridge across the west and our trough in the east just funneling cold in. No hope for temperatures climbing above freezing today or tomorrow in much of the northeast into the mid-Atlantic. It's cold in D.C. and Baltimore today with temperatures barely in the teens, and it's cold all the way into the south where we're getting some snow and cold enough that we could see some flakes tonight into early tomorrow into Florida. That cold. The chilly temperatures stick around into the northeast. Again, there's Monday and Tuesday staying cold around the Great Lakes too. We do start to see the pattern break some across the west, I think, as we get towards the 9th, 10th, and the 11th. But check this out, guys. We are reinforcing the cold again heading into Wednesday and Thursday for the Northeast. I think it's a little bit warmer across the northern plains, the central plains, and the southern plains, also into parts of the deep south. This is going to look good right in here, okay? So we could finally see some of that ice melt as we get into Thursday and Friday, but the cold continues to pour into the Northeast. The Southwest continues to stay warm with this ridge. There comes the energy that would likely start to break down our ridge across the West, and then things get really interesting. I think it warms up. You're going to start to see your cold break in the east by this point, at least warmer than what we're seeing, and then things could get really, really interesting. All right, so here's what we're looking at as far as our future radar goes for the rest of the day today. I'm not going to get into a lot of totals, but some light snow falling back across parts of Alabama, Georgia today. If you joined the live stream last night, I talked about this area, how it's going to take a while to fill in, and you can see it in the forecast totals that they were putting out, and even the HRRR putting out lower numbers into this part of North Carolina with overachieving numbers back across western North Carolina. And listen, most of the snow up into this region is done, but several more inches likely across parts of North Carolina, even here along the North Carolina border, and then here to eastern North Carolina, depending on when you're watching this. This is being recorded as of Saturday afternoon. Once we get into tonight, I think we'll start to see this area across central North Carolina fill in. The snow starts to settle down across Georgia. It's still snowing near the beaches at this point. We're filling it in across North Carolina too, and this thing is not coming up the coast. Look at this thing deepen. You almost see an eye feature forming as surface low pressure bombs out off the east coast. And then, it may give us a glancing blow here up to Cape Cod, but again, most of the snow that we're looking at is falling across North Carolina. And again, some of this could already be on the ground where you are. Further to the north and east, just again, a glancing blow out towards Cape Cod, maybe a few flurries and light snow showers into parts of eastern Mass. Otherwise, not a lot of snow here as this system moves away pretty quickly. We're already turning to our next piece of energy diving out of the northwest. Someone said, what's energy? Well, it could be a couple of things. It could be spin in the atmosphere. It could be something as large as our big long wave troughs that dig in. But this is a pretty weak system diving in from the northwest. You got a little bit of cold air trying to work in behind it. High pressure building across the prairies. That's going to push down into the Great Lakes. So a little bit of light snow here. And then another one moving on the heels of it. It looks like it could bring a little bit of light snow across parts of, I don't know if we get very much, though, into Montana. In fact, it may be so warm that we're talking about rain here. This is going to move off to the south and east pretty quickly, and it's going to couple up right here. And this could be a little more significant here into the mid-Atlantic. I think you got to watch this one. It's not going to be a huge snow by any stretch, but there could be some accumulating snow here as we get into now Wednesday morning. Could cause some problems falling at the right time of day when anything that falls could stick. Now, as we look at our long wave pattern, big ridge in the west, trough in the east, and into the central U.S. too. Cold high pressure settling in at the surface across the Great Lakes. Cold front all the way down to Florida. Goes through Florida. Look, another reinforcing shot of some cold, and this is an interesting looking system that could get pretty strong and put down a decent amount of snow. Now, we're not talking about feet or anything, but boy, it's been snowy across the Great Lakes. Lake Erie completely frozen over. And when we talk about those record cold days, significant cold over and over and over and over, it's no wonder we see so much ice out there. Not much change across the West. I promise you, I do not ignore. Let me hear some of these states I talk about. Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Wyoming. There's just not much going on out here. I mean, look at this all the way through the week. There may be some precip into parts of Washington. I don't know if it even gets as far south as Oregon, but into British Columbia, maybe some rain and snow, but nothing really going on across the Four Corner states. All right, let's continue to move this ahead in time. This is going to move into the Northeast. It looks like as we head toward the weekend, it could bring some more snow, another shot of cold, and then now we're starting to see signs of that trough digging into the west. This would put precip a little further south into the Sierra, maybe even into the Rockies at this point. If we can get this low moving in, that would bring some snow across this area. And then at this point, we are so far out in time, who knows if this is even going to come to pass. I want to show you the GFS during this same time period. There's that mid-Atlantic system that's going to bring some rain also across the south, and then there's low pressure. These are all lining up, right, as moving through the Great Lakes toward the end of the week, and now here's where the GFS is significantly different. All right, it's got this weird look. It's got a cold air mass moving south. It's got this weird setup, and this looks like an overrunning ice event. You guys remember this? This look familiar? Kind of like last week? Okay. So far out, I'm not going to go into that just yet, but I'm watching this period. Check this out tonight. Maybe some Gulf effect snow. We're talking about this yesterday. If the cold air can get in before the moisture leaves, look at that. Here into parts of the Tampa region, east into on I-4. I don't think out towards Bradenton you're going to see it, but get inland just a little bit. There could be some snow. And check that out. Pretty far south. I mean, this is Lake Okeechobee here. The fact that we're even looking at the NAM model in West Florida for a little bit of accumulation, I don't think it's going to do it. Maybe on some grassy and elevated surfaces, but just goes to show how cold this area is moving in. These are your temperatures tomorrow morning. It's going to get below zero in the mountains of PA, West Virginia, Western North Carolina, Western Virginia. Also back here into Michigan where we've got all this snow on the ground. In Indiana too, temperatures dropping below zero tonight. Cold Arctic air in place. It's dry Arctic air too. So once the sun goes down, all that heat, especially if you can get clear skies, is just going to radiate out of the atmosphere into outer space. So a cold night tonight. The temperatures are still going to stay cold as we head into Sunday, all the way down into Florida. Another cold night into Monday or Sunday night into Monday morning, well below freezing, all the way down into Florida. Not as cold as we're looking at tonight, but still cold. And then look, these temperatures in New York still staying below freezing. Not just New York. I say that because we talked about those again, those records, those consecutive days where we've been below freezing. And the record is, I do believe it was 16, goes back to 1961. So we may challenge that, and not just here, but in other areas across the Great Lakes in the Northeast, just these multiple days. The next stream, I'll have to pull another city and see where things are at here. Maybe Pittsburgh, still staying cold. Once we get into Tuesday, we start to see some warming. We get up into the 20s now across this region, into the Ohio Valley, a little bit warmer. Look at the South. Boy, you'll take 60s in Mississippi. Maybe we can finally start to melt some of that ice. It doesn't look like it's going to last too long, though. We blast some cold air back in behind this. Wednesday cold, Thursday cold, Friday. Guys, we could be busting that record from the 1960s with these consecutive days below freezing. I'm just letting the European go just to show you guys if you're watching the Northeast. But it's just cold. I don't see any changes. Let's go west, where we've not escaped the cold into Texas. It's been a little bit warmer than what we've seen lately, but yeah, tomorrow across West Texas, it's going to get pretty mild. East Texas, different story. Highs in the upper 30s and low 40s, also in Oklahoma, but West Oklahoma, West Kansas, Colorado climbing well into the 60s, and it could even get warmer as we head into Monday further north. We've got almost 70s pushing here into Texas, places where we just saw snow and ice. It's going to be an ancient memory here as we see these temperatures warm up significantly. And then as we head into Tuesday, this would be the warmest day, I think, across the South, up into the 50s and 60s. And here's a look at your temperatures across the West. I mean, it's mild. What can I say? When it's near 50 up near Calgary, east side of the mountains into Montana, Wyoming, Denver, close to 60. The far southwest, Phoenix, into the 80s. The warmth continues here until something breaks, and it may take until the 9th and 10th and 11th before we see that. All right, we talk about the worst of winter. Maybe it's the worst winter if you love winter weather across the West. That's a fact, Jack. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great Saturday. See you next time.